I would think after the Russian collusion hoax, covering up the Hunter Biden story, weaponizing the law in New York, applying it in a way that it's never been applied, was never meant to be applied, in order to prosecute Trump, that they would work a little bit harder with their smear campaigns.
Coming out look really bad for Donald Trump. Trump is all over those emails, and he's all over them not as a casual, distant acquaintance of Jeffrey Epstein, but he's in there accused of specific things that are really, really bad. Example here. We start with the first one. This is an email where we have Thomas Landon and Epstein writing back and forth. Epstein writes to Landon, "Would you like photos of Donald and girls in bikinis in my kitchen?" To which Landon says yes, and Epstein says Hawaiian tropic girl Lauren Petrella. And later, with a link, says my 20-year-old girlfriend in 93 that after 2 years, I gave to Donald.
Pac-Man's all excited, like, oh, Trump's all over these emails doing specific horrible things, and then goes on to use as his first example Epstein saying that he gave his adult girlfriend to Trump and that he has pictures of Trump in a kitchen with bikini models. I'm sorry, where's the crime? And you can go ahead and be like, oh, it's disgusting how Epstein talked about the girl. Yeah, fair enough. But if you've ever, I don't know, hung around people that have a modicum of power, much less the power that fucking Epstein had, this is the way they talk. If you didn't already know that, I'm sorry, you're kind of an idiot. Like, the assumption is pretty easy to make. What do they say? Power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. You think these people don't speak about, those with less status or money or whatever it is than them as property? Yeah, it's gross, but how is the way Epstein speaks in any way an indictment of Trump? Like, come on. I thought you guys were going to be like, oh, here's a specific accusation of abuse. Nope. Beyond that, the context that he is leaving out of this one email chain, which is, of course, probably a small, tiny single page of a much, much larger chain, which is in and of itself an issue because, of course, they're not giving you the full context with any of these conversations. But even within just this one page, if you actually read the entire thing, you see that the context of it is the attempt at smearing and taking down Trump in 2015. Now, we know that Epstein was banned from Mar-a-Lago in 2007 for acting weird towards chicks. So the idea that there's some enmity there, from Epstein towards Trump, it doesn't seem too far-fetched, especially considering that we're talking about a guy that was essentially used to getting his way and getting away with it always, who was presumably capable of forcing many, many people in business and government to do whatever he wishes because of the dirt that he had on them. But Trump wasn't afraid to kick him out of Mar-a-Lago.
Epstein is saying that he gave, this is such horrible language, you gave a person. He's saying he gave a girl, a woman, a young woman, his ex-girlfriend, to Donald Trump. Dear God, these are bad.
Oh, dear God, the moral outrage from the guy that said this.
You think it's okay to sexualize children at drag stripper shows?
I don't think the children are being sexualized if they go to a drag show. No, I just don't think that that's the sexualization.
You don't think children are being? Would it be okay for me as a grown adult male to take underage kids to a regular strip club?
I don't think they're allowed. No.
So why are they allowed to do it in but why aren't they allowed?
Royce. Why
aren't they allowed? Is it because of the alcohol or because of the sexualization?
I don't know the laws around strip clubs. I couldn't tell you.
Oh.
The guy that can't tell you why children shouldn't be in strip clubs is morally outraged because Epstein referred to a person as property. Get the fuck out.
Another email, and Landon Thomas is a financial reporter, by the way, for the New York Times. Epstein writes, Read the BuzzFeed regarding my airplane logs and Hawaiian Tropic contest. Have them ask my houseman about Donald, almost walking through the door, leaving his nose print on the glass as young women were swimming in the pool, and he was so focused, he walked straight into the door. Not a casual acquaintance, if these emails are to be believed. Now,
First of all, I went ahead and looked up what the requirements to become a Tropicana girl, model, whatever is, and you have to be at least 18. So all of those Tropicana models were of legal age. Again, where's the crime? And if you want to, I don't know, take some moral stance and shame on him because, I don't know, he ain't gay, like, what do you want? What are models for? What are bikini models for? What is the point? And as far as the casual acquaintance thing goes, well, I don't know why David's not acknowledging the nature of professional ecosystems and networking, because as a YouTuber, I presume that he in fact does networking, that he likely goes to events where other YouTubers that he may not necessarily be associated with are, but are nonetheless there due to the fact that they share an industry. If y'all forgot, Trump in fact owned a pageant or two back in the day when they were still big shit. So the idea that, you know, he would also be in association with other pageant owners. Beyond that, we're not just talking about business owners here. We're talking about high-end, financially, you know, wealthy New Yorkers. This is a very small ecosystem. And I know all of this because I used to myself exist within a certain ecosystem that gave me access to people someone like me otherwise would likely never have. I tell you, when you are at places you would never expect to find federal judges, you know, college professors, politicians, and then you find them, you start to realize a lot of things about the world and the way that it actually works.
now let me do a brief interlude. If you are going to claim that this is all a hoax, you have to account for why long before Donald Trump even declared his presidential candidacy, they would have created this presumably fake email trail. It doesn't make any sense.
Now, this isn't even an obfuscation of context. This is a blatant fucking lie. That email is dated 12/8/2015. Trump announced his first candidacy for president June 16th of 2015, several months prior to this email being sent. Why are you lying, David?
The simplest explanation is the most likely explanation, which is the emails are authentic and they reflect reality and they reflect Jeffrey Epstein's recollection of events. Emails reveal that Donald Trump spent his first Thanksgiving after getting elected president with Jeffrey Epstein in 2017. Here is a series of emails between Jeffrey Epstein and Faith Cates. Faith asks, "When are you back in New York City?" He says, "Next week." And then he says, when asked who is down there with Epstein, Epstein says, "David Feisel, Hanson, Trump." This email says not Trump might be down here, Trump is down here.
And here we go again. Now, with as little context as there already is available here, he's somehow managing to leave out yet more context. They are generally talking about when are you going to be back in New York, blah, blah, blah. Then the other party specifically asks, where are you spending Thanksgiving? Epstein replies, Eva, EVA. I don't know who that is. I don't know what that is. Then is asked, who else is down there? There is no actual explicit connection between where he's spending Thanksgiving and who is down there in a general sense, because it seems to me that they are having a general conversation and then a specific question is asked and answered, and then they return to the general discussion. of who was in the area. Now, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know, because there's not enough context here. Yet they are running with this as if it is proof positive evidence of Trump doing horrible, terrible things, which I still haven't seen.
Another email from Epstein to Larry Summers, where Epstein says at the top, "Recall I've told you, I have met some very bad people, none as bad as Trump, not one decent cell in his body. So yes, dangerous about Donald Trump." Epstein is saying, Trump's the worst I've ever met. Think about what that implies about Donald Trump.
You know, maybe I'm dumb, but I would take the billionaire blackmailing pedophile hating somebody as a sign of them probably not being too terrible. I would be more concerned about the people he speaks highly of.
And then finally, another email from Epstein to Kathy Rumler in 2018, where Epstein says, "You see, I know how dirty Donald is. My guess is that non-lawyers, New York business people have no idea what it means to have your fixer flip." These are far, far worse emails than even I imagined. And I imagined they could be pretty bad, although we didn't yet have that information. We didn't yet have that evidence. But Trump is not only all over the emails certainly suggest that Trump's relationship with Epstein did not end in the aughts around 2007, 2006, whenever. Trump was hanging out with Epstein even into 2017 at Thanksgiving. This is a red alert disaster for Donald Trump. Trump was asked some questions about this yesterday. You might not be surprised to hear that he declined to answer.
You know, maybe I'm dumb, but I would take the billionaire blackmailing pedophile hating somebody as a sign of them probably not being too terrible. I would be more concerned about the people he speaks highly of.
But wait, there's more.
One of the emails that I have in front of me from Jeffrey Epstein to Michael Wolff says, "Victim Mar-a-Lago." Then it's blacked out. It says, "Trump said he asked me to resign. I was never a member, ever. Of course, he knew about the girls as he asked Ghislaine to stop." That is actually something that is helpful to him. Why?
Beyond that, the victim that they've redacted from the email there is Virginia Giuffre, and we know this because they've released the unredacted documents in other places. So you got to ask yourself why they specifically are running with an email about a woman who is, one, deceased, and who has, two, many, many times said that Trump didn't do anything, that she knew him personally, and that he was never anything but a gentleman. Matter of fact, check this out.
A lot of people think he's not releasing the files because he's in them. And she's saying, at least when it comes to her, he's not. He wasn't involved at all. I think that's a big surprise to a lot of people. Is that the reaction you're getting, that Trump is cleared as far as Virginia's concerned?
I've definitely gotten that reaction. I mean, when we announced the book, we made it clear that Trump was not implicated. Again, as you point out, Virginia was in the Epstein-Maxwell orbit for about 24 months, a little longer. And so she only knows about that period. But in that period, she didn't see Trump in any sort of compromising position. She didn't see him abuse anyone. And in fact, you know, remember, she is procured by Ghislaine Maxwell. She is approached by this posh British woman with a beautiful outfit, beautiful handbag at Mar-a-Lago Spa, where she is working as a $9 an hour towel girl in the Mar-a-Lago Club, which obviously Trump still owns. So she knew Donald Trump because she worked there. She thought she was honored to work there. It was a beautiful place. And she met him several times because her father also worked there and introduced him to her. He said, "Do you babysit?" She said yes. He gave her, you know, he had her babysit for some of her friends when they visited the club. So she had fond memories of him from her teenagehood.
So back to what I said in the beginning. about the Russian collusion hoax and all the other lies used to smear, all the bending of laws, the fabrications, all of it. 10 years later, to this day, with the release of these Epstein files and the way that they are going about doing it and the way that they are intentionally misinterpreting, leaving out or adding context that is not there, it all stinks of intelligence agency smear campaign. And we've seen it for the last 75 years, all right? All the hallmarks are there. It is clear and obvious that there were elements in the government during Trump's first term that were doing everything they could to dismantle his ability to govern. And it is obvious still to this day that the interagency or intergovernmental warfare continues. Now, if you want my speculation on why Trump was so adamant about releasing the Epstein files in the lead up to the second term, and then his reversal in course, I think it's likely because once he saw the breadth, the depth of Epstein's influence and connections in the government, he realized that releasing everything would probably collapse our country. When we saw how much of our business leaders and politicians, the people that run our world, were involved with the weird shit he was doing, that it would likely collapse our country. But now he's called for them to be released. So, Leroy Jenkins, I guess. Fuck it. Let's see what's up. If you made it to the end, though, hit the like button. I appreciate you. I'm going to get out of here for now. Y'all have a good day. Peace.